Hi everyone, welcome to this BUYBOT Pro video. Today we're going to be talking about how you can spot if a brand or product protects its intellectual property rights and therefore you should not sell the product in case you then receive an IP claim, which can negatively affect your account health and in the worst case can lead to account suspension. So we don't want that at all. So for example, I'm just choosing this yoga block here. So the first thing to look for on the Amazon page is just have a look at the brand, VL Fit. Does that sound like a brand that you recognise? If not, this could potentially be a first indication that this might be a private label brand, in which case you wouldn't want to be selling the product. The great thing about BUYBOT Pro is we've actually got down here an IP radar. An IP radar refers to whether a brand allows resellers. So in this case, we'd probably be expecting the IP radar perhaps to be red, just given the indication that we haven't really heard of this brand before. But before we actually click Analyze and get this data, we can see here, it says, can I sell this? No. And then we've got the eligibility tab and it says Ungate. So just from this initial look on BUYBOT Pro, if we go ahead and click Ungate, BUYBOT Pro will try to see if Amazon allows us to ungate the product. And this often depends on how long you've been selling on Amazon for and whether Amazon allows you to be ungated automatically. And that can happen. So what we can do here is we can just go to click Ungate. It brings us to this page here. So what is it saying? Other VL Fit branded products in new, used, refurbished, collectible conditions. So if we click Request Approval, let's just see what this brings up. So to list this ASIN, you need request approval for VL Fit. And then if we go down here, we need at least a one purchase invoice from a manufacturer or distributor, which is the usual process for getting ungated. But then look what we've got here, one letter from VL Fit authorising you to sell their products. So this probably indicates this is a brand that protects their intellectual property rights and therefore it's unlikely we're going to be able to sell it. If we just head back to the Amazon page, let's just see what the IP radar says here. So we're just putting in this buy price. I'm going to go ahead and click Analyze. Okay, this is interesting. So BUYBOT Pro shows us that there are no known private label issues, but that's not a guarantee. So that's really important. BUYBOT Pro can only work off the data it has, and it does look at thousands of data points and has a long list of known products that have got intellectual property issues. But this is saying green. So what can we do to further just check this, as we're already a bit wary that this VL Fit brand is this, and currently we're not able to sell it. So if we go down the page, we can see, okay, look at this. There's only one prime seller. So FBA Prime V Leisure. So it's highly likely that V Leisure is part of the same brand, but the fact that there are no other FBA or MF sellers is a really big alarm bell and a warning sign for us. As well as that, the BUYBOT Pro here is saying that a very low chance to sell this because we're not actually eligible to sell the product. So despite the fact the IP radar here is showing green, we've used other information to determine that this probably isn't a product that we would be eligible to sell. And if we could get written permission from the brand to sell it, then fine, we would be able to. But in this instance, because we went through that ungating process and saw that we had to have a letter from VL Fit as a brand, in addition to there only being one FBA Prime seller, it's very unlikely that we would be able to sell this product. If we click through to the seller themselves, what can we see here? All of the products that they're selling are VL Fit. So we can determine that this is in fact the brand owner selling the product, and it makes sense because VL Fit stands for V Leisure. So the Amazon seller V Leisure is in fact the VL Fit brand. And so it's highly likely this is a private label brand and one in which we would not be able to sell on. So that video hopefully has shown that there's lots of different ways that you can use BUYBOT Pro to try to figure out whether a product is going to be okay to sell. But the first indication here is we've got a big no, which means that we're not eligible, so we couldn't go ahead anyway if we wanted to enlist this. When we clicked the Ungate button here, Amazon told us we needed to get written permission from the VL Fit brand. The fact that I haven't heard of VL Fit before perhaps flags up a warning. And so even though the IP radar is currently green because it doesn't know of any issues, the competition analysis, which just shows one FBA prime, is an alarm bell in itself. So this is a product that we want to stay away from.